Okay, I think that's now working, although we have our default air music going on right now, so stand by just a split second. Greetings there, Alexi. All right. Castercraft. There we go. By the way, we had a little bit of a couple of big problems that took place while I was away. You maybe realized that I was not around for a while. Okay, let's calm that down for a moment as we proceed forward here. I had a series of website attacks that took place and took things down for a while, and I was in the process of trying to troubleshoot how to fix it, and now we're in the process of implementing a CAPTCHA system like you see right now on the screen. And thus, when you click the beaver, it allows you to theoretically come on in here, but there's a little bit of glitch that takes place, as you can see. So I got to figure that part out, but that is a problem for next time. For now, you know what? There's too many problems with this one. We're going to close that one out. We're going to come over and try this right here. Okay. Attempt number 2. There, that loads much better. So apparently my website doesn't like Brave, for whatever reason. Not sure as to why. But at least it does well on Firefox. Stream activities. Let's come on over here and change the music to something a little bit more methodical. We're going to go with Skyrim Daytime. What the? Offline? It's listed as offline. Oh my goodness. This is the problem of being your own tech team. You got to troubleshoot stuff yourself. And unfortunately, I'm not sure as to why this one is happening. Although I got a sneaking suspicion. And if we can't get this to work, then I'll have to just close that on out and try something else later on. Okay, I need to update the mobile version. Mobile version is not working well on my phone. Alright, does this one show me as offline? It does indeed. Okay, well, we're just going to kill the music for now. There we go. And let's go over here and use this instead. All right, that should be good. Set that one up there. Something nice and peaceful. All right, we are off to the races. And I gotta figure out what happened. I tested that out last couple of days. No problem. Get online and problems begin. Oh well. I think it might be OBS has to be shut down and restarted. That's probably what is going wrong there. But a couple other problems happened as well while I was away. PC choked on me. Oh sure, I'm still streaming on that PC. But other things stopped working as well, so I had to try and get that squared away. I think I got it figured out for the most part. So for tonight, we're going to be doing some more animation. We're going to be trying to make this just a little bit more refined, and then we're going to move on to the next creature. I think I have a story for this, but I'm not sure how far I will go with it. Alright, so this is one direction that the bug is crawling. Oh, I forgot to also... Yeah, well, Rumbleside is not up tonight, and we'll just forget about that. No one ever really watched from the Rumbleside anyway, so it's not a huge issue. I mean, some people did, but it wasn't regular enough to really stress about it. Besides, it's a shorter stream since I had so many tech problems this last 2 weeks. Of which, just the last week, it was why I was offline, trying to get all those things squared away. Well, the world seems to be in chaos right now. And, hey, greetings there, Jersey. How you doing? And, gotta say, there's, a lot of people in this world that want us to be discouraged. And, it's really easy to become discouraged. It's hard to maintain a sense of decorum, patience, and wisdom. But those are very important traits, things that we should never overlook, things that we should never surrender. But I know a lot of people that want desperately to just kind of give up on things. But that doesn't solve the problem. There's a phrase that's super popular right now called keep your peace, or keep my peace, or however else you want to put it. Basically summarized is, I'm not going to get involved in things that make me upset, frustrated, discouraged. All that stuff's bad for me. And you know what? Anybody that brings up that agitation, it's not worth it. Now, I got a problem with that. And hopefully it's fairly easy to comprehend as to why. See, if we are going to go through life and just be constantly trying to look for ways to avoid responsibility, well, we end up making the problems worse. There was a story I heard years ago about a village. And I'm going to expand upon this idea because this was very interesting to me. There was a village where there was a wolf that became quite familiar with the village and started noticing that they were fairly careless. One day, the wolf went down and saw one of the people all alone, weak, sickly, and the wolf attacked and dragged that person off into the woods, where that person was eaten. The villagers noticed that their friend was gone, but that person was just sickly. Old and sickly, so it didn't really matter. A couple days later, someone else disappeared. This one was young and strong. Well, that was strange. But it couldn't have been that wolf. No, that wolf has never attacked anyone before. A couple days later, someone else disappears. And the village says, okay, no, this wolf is attacking. But everyone became afraid. like, that wolf is dangerous. That wolf might hurt me. And so, in order to protect themselves and their family, they closed the door and would not open it for anybody. The wolf became strong, though, and noticed this, and it went to the weaker homes and tore the doors down, and then went in and ate the people. The village was shocked, but they looked down the road, and the hunter, who had the only real means to deal with that wolf, decided, no, I'm just going to focus on my own peace. And one by one, the village disappeared. Finally, it was just the hunter. And then the wolf came to his door. The wolf, by that point, had become very big and very strong and overpowered the hunter. I tell that story because we can always push off the thought that we bear any responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. It's someone else's problem. There was 2 bags of trash down my street. And for several days, nobody picked it up. And finally, I was walking down the path and realized that horrible odors were coming from that bag, from both the bags. There were bugs flying in and out of it. And I thought, where's the people that are supposed to be cleaning this up? Because we do have people that are supposed to be dealing with that. They were nowhere to be seen. So I picked up the bag, both of them, and dragged them to the nearest dumpster. Problem solved. What if someone had done that earlier, before the bugs had taken over? And the foul odor? It would have been a lot easier. Just like the wolf, we can put off something and say, we don't bear responsibility. But a noble man says, I don't care if it's someone else's responsibility. I will fix it. That is what makes someone a leader. That's what makes somebody a legend. Somebody who takes the responsibility of another, even though it's not theirs to do, and solves the problem. Whereas others were afraid and cowardly and didn't do a thing. That's a super petable looking alien. Yeah, the goal is to not make it, too freaky. I mean, there's plenty of freaky looking creatures out there, and this is not technically an alien. It's actually technically an insect. And that's where the lore is going to come into play. Because it's supposed to be that the creatures are actually insects that have been bred to basically become pets. We'll see how far I go with the lore, but right now that's the plan. So it's kind of like someone had a praying mantis, and it just got developed into like ancient sizes. So it's like size of a dog sort of thing. And so then there's going to be other ones like this, the spider or whatnot. By the way, I hate insects, and so it's kind of... There's a little bit of motivation to make the creatures you attack being insects. By the way, how's it going with you, Jersey? How's your projects been going? That's why you live so far up north. Hey, it's part of it. It's, there's a lot of people that actually, when they move to the north, insects don't cause them a lot of problems until they start living up here. And then they go back down south and they're like, how did I ever live with insects? I mean, the fact that the creatures that we have are so big up here, I'd much rather deal with a bear. I know when the bear's there. I don't know when a poisonous insect's nearby. Don't know when a snake is nearby. We don't have snakes either, by the way. It's kind of interesting how that something that you kind of learn to live with elsewhere starts becoming a big irritant for you when you live up here. Just woke up. I'm about to check if the animation rendering went correctly, as I left it for all night. For a night. By the way, that is... let's see here. Where's the... this color over here is way off. There we go. The key has been causing problems. I had to move a lot of things around here, so I think that's probably what was going on. Greetings, wearing a helmet. The most poisonous snake is here. Probably Australia then, right? It's the second time, as previously tested, it didn't render rain for some reason. Ah, interesting. It's called a pygmy rattler. Also small like a bug or an insect. Ugh. You can keep those poisonous creatures down there. I'd much rather for the things that attack me to be big and furry. So at least you feel like you're cuddling a giant teddy bear before it mauls you and rips an arm off. Oklahoma. Oh, where the wind goes sweeping down the plains. I used to live in Oklahoma once. Can't say it was a state that I was super fond of. I prefer to see mountains on the horizon, and Oklahoma has a surprising lack of mountains. Anyway, hopefully you're enjoying it at least. I know a lot of people ended up moving to Oklahoma. Ah, yeah, indeed, Jersey. I need to do this before I do the texture because my shape is off. Maybe I need to move it up higher. That's all right. And it rendered in every test frame I did via render image. Ah. Cool looking praying mantis, though. Much appreciated wearing a helmet. This is going to be one of the villains or creatures that you attack in the JavaScript game that I'm making. And this has been quite the interesting process. I've not done sprite images like this before, so it has taken me a bit of tinkering to get the whole concept down. The first insects did not look very good. Up until then, they kind of looked... actually, let's turn on the background so you can see what they looked like. They were going to be things like this. And I realized that, it just doesn't look right. So that's why I went back to the drawing board, literally, and have been working to try and, make it look better. I know many people who work in pixel art. I've been trying to take cues off of how they do stuff. And I'm getting there, slowly but surely. By the way, with the game itself, I've gotten down the way to generate the map with images. As in, I'm using an image to drive how the map is generated. And I've had a lot of interesting successes and failures along this whole process. I've learned so much in doing it. And I've started to try and take some of those things and use it for the website, trying to get it, more refined. But it's now introduced new problems, and so I got to go back to the drawing board and try and figure out why some of that code is so buggy. I know, I got bad puns for tonight. Okay, how does that compare to this? Now I got to compare them both here. Okay, I think we got a bit of a problem here. Stand by. Copy that, bring him over here, paste it as backup. I do all my art. It's on 144, so it don't shift. There's 1080 and 144 on pixel art though. You can also look at your 2D model on 144 and it will turn it 3D. Oh, interesting. But you have to change quality. Interesting. I'm gonna have to take a little note of that. I'm still trying to get the hang of doing pixel art, so any sort of tips and tricks I'm trying to make notes about so I can refine it for the next pass. I'm primarily a storyteller and an animator, but when it comes to pixel art, there's something about it that just doesn't click in my head. But that's fine, because we aren't supposed to be a master at everything. It's kind of like a clash between a crab and a mantis here. Not sure which direction to kind of go with it. I'm kind of leaning into the mantis concept, but kind of does have a little bit of qualities of both here. Let's add a little bit more dimension to that. Song is super similar to Far Cry. Well, it is a fan-made version of Far Cry. So you're not far off. I didn't know what Far Cry was until just, like, relatively recently. I never played the games. I didn't even know that the games existed. And then I came across the music, and I was like, oh, this is great. Listened to it for a while and realized it was super soothing. I need to reach out to this guy sometime because I actually kind of want to see if he can help out with a music project. It's tough though, because a lot of musicians I find, they want to work on their own stuff and they are not really big into commissions. So I don't know how it's gonna go. But I kind of want to reach out and give it a shot. There, it looks much better. Copy that on over. Paste. Oh, first delete that, then we paste. Come over here, delete, paste, invert. And same thing here. Oh, we got a little bit of flickering right there. I only really played Far Cry 1 and 3 when I was a little kid with my older cousin, or at least watched as he played. You know, there's a lot of games when I was growing up that I didn't get to play, but I watched other people play them. It was almost like, it almost became part of my memory, even though it wasn't like part of my experience of like, I kind of see myself as having played them, even though I never once really got the chance to do that. One of those games is Super Mario 64. I'd watched so many other people play it, but I never got to really play it myself. But there's a very strong core memory as a result. I played Far Cry 5 with my friend. Where's the soundtrack is from? I don't know if you decide to ever play any of them, so I won't spoil them for you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be playing them. Most games I will never play. And I realize there are thousands of games. Part of the reason is that I don't have the time to be able to focus on that. I had to focus on a couple of things in life, and games really... A couple of games I play on the regular, but I don't go much outside of the games that I currently have. I try and master the ones that I have instead. They're just fun shooters with a cool story and great villains. Indeed. Okay, now I gotta copy this for the middle. So we got extreme, and we got this. Paste that in. Nope, wrong one. Copy, paste. So we got extreme, mid, and then we reverse this. Then we delete this and paste. There we go. Now he's walking appropriately. I only have Minecraft, says wearing a helmet. I know a lot of people that probably would fit into that category. I can definitely understand the draw. But basically every Far Cry game is different. Mostly you fight some warlord or something, but in Far Cry 5 you fight a religious cult. Too much stuff to do for a game. Not like a normal church, but some crazed other guys. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. I know what you're talking about, wearing a helmet. That's why I have restricted the games that I have to basically what I own. I don't go out and buy games. As a result, I think it's actually important to know where to draw limits. And one of the things that I would do when I first got started streaming is I actually got started doing roleplay. And so a lot of people expected me to carry on the games, and I didn't do that. And I started to cut back. And now it's kind of like once a month sort of thing, if that. There is a point, though, where you can end up gaming too much. And I learned that kind of the hard way. Well, not necessarily. I kind of got off easy, but I knew other people that became addicted to it, and it caused a lot of problems. It didn't seem apparent at first, but it became more apparent as time went on that there was some pretty big issues that were occurring as a result. But there's a couple of games that I have definitely played way too much, of which is Age of Empires. Played that way too much. What's the button for this again? Q. Q for lasso. No, it's more like the Q is probably the squiggly line that the lasso looks like. There's a guy who I got to watch on his streams. I got to participate in some of his streams too. And he became very angry when he would game. He was not the sort of person you really wanted to be around when he was gaming. It infuriated him when he would game. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that he didn't have many other outlets. And so it became all-consuming. And unfortunately, it started making him so enraged that he started getting destructive. Well, as happens with people like that, it backfired on him and caused all sorts of other problems in his life. When he started breaking controllers, that was kind of a sign that, no, this guy's in trouble. It's tough. I gotta watch the guy's downfall. But there's not much you can do other than watch. People like that aren't necessarily going to want to listen, and you can't force them to listen. Sometimes you have to watch and just be ready to help them for when they call out. And I have yet to receive that message, but I stand by at the ready, should that be the case. Basically, the main villain lost his daughter and lost his mind. He believed he heard an angel to create a cult and save the people. He created an apocalyptic cult so big it occupied the whole county in Montana. Ooh, gotta beware of Montana. I don't think the pixel art to RPG has been made, though. Could be. It is a potato electricity. I used to think that a potato was like a joke for when people say you could power stuff with a potato, and then I realized that it's actually you could theoretically power stuff with a potato. That surprised me. Right now I'm just trying to correct one side at this point, then I'll just mirror it. Okay, I think that's almost there. By the way, as a consequence of not being an expert in this sort of stuff, it does take me longer to accomplish what is kind of a simple task compared to what an actual expert would be able to do. Some kind of moon dudes. Throw treasure. Or throw cats as minions. Is that the RPG that you're referring to? When I think about that, I think about the movie Despicable Me. When that came out, I laughed so hard. I think you can actually get away with shorter edge this. That one will stay put. So it maintains that. But this one needs to be just a tad bit thicker. And then a little thicker here. All right, now I'm looking at the top left area, and I'm happy with that. All right, so now we can start the mirroring process. Grab from here, loop it on over, copy, delete, paste, negative. There used to be a game. I think it was called Masterpiece, so like Crayola Masterpiece. And whenever you would press the invert button, the guy would come on and say, negative. And so whenever I think about inverting, that voice still comes back to me all these years later. Amazing how a simple game like that became such a defining aspect of my early digital art life. It's the one with Tom Cruise. Oh, yeah. Yep. But doesn't have Tom Cruise in it, yes. Okay, I see what we're referring to now. Okay. That bug looks despicable and squishable. Still one problem with that, and that is the upper shell, I think, needs to be a little bit thicker. There we go. 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 There extend it just a tad. Round it out a little bit. There we go. That's much better. The bug moves. Wonderful. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to delete these ones underneath and bring them on down. And then we're going to delete this one right there. So now we can come back and bring this back to being 40. There we go. Because I needed to see the side-by-side comparison. Okay, now, of course, I should have moved this on over before I actually did that. There we go. Okay, come on. Move them on over there. Perfect. Okay, so now we're back to here. Can come back. Moving down and moving up. The next one is to send it to the left into the right. Have an S10 Ultra but can't do digital art. I wonder how artists on here do this, and if I can't do it on a Linux Mint. Interesting. Which, I know that Linux is not friendly to a lot of painting programs. As I understand, it's limited primarily to GIMP and a couple of other ones here and there, but they're slowly building out the conversion for other painting software. I do know it is a problem, and I'm in the process of trying to upgrade to a Linux, so I had to actually get a secondary computer in the meantime to try and cover for my artwork, because the Linux machine is going to cause a lot of problems. I do realize that. I do know that more software have announced that they're going to have a Linux focus moving forward, but for now it's still primarily Windows and... Oh, why Linux? Because the world of Windows is becoming hostile. I'm on a Windows 10, and Windows 10 is on its last legs. And as of this last month, it has started to have serious problems. My machine is old. It can't handle Windows 11. What's more, the security stuff is getting frustrating to work with. So I need to start learning how to use Linux. It's not going to cover everything. I'm on Windows 10 too, yeah. I like Windows 10. I do not like what Windows 11 is. And alas, the end of Windows 10 is nigh. We have until October to get things figured out. And as of this month, NVIDIA has started not cooperate. My PC has glitched so many times, and it's all because of the most recent NVIDIA update, because I can't get it, because it's only restricted to Windows 11. Anyway, frustrating. Simplest install? Good to note. I'm in the process of trying to figure all that stuff out, and so it's going to take me a while to wrap my head around it. But I deal with all sorts of different tech stuff changing to Linux won't be a problem. The limitations of the software, that is going to be a problem. Use the NVIDIA P4000. Hey, same here. Great for movies. Great for animations as well. Just hope the laptop I'm about to buy in a month or two won't immediately be unable to upgrade to Windows 12. It will be fine. As I understand, Windows 12 hasn't officially been announced yet. Someone jumped the gun apparently on the announcement, and so I think we've got a while until that happens. I hate Windows 11 so much, and I'm not looking forward to Windows 12. I almost went back to Mac because it angered me so much. But I realized Mac's not much better. I mean, yes, there's a lot of benefits to Windows and Mac separately, but there's a lot of things that are starting to become the same on. And I'm not looking forward to some of that stuff. Alright, we need bug left now. And I actually need to extend this again. Pause that play button. A couple videos popping up about Windows 12, yeah. As I sit here with Pen and S10 Ultra, and it requires a sign-in you can't sign into. Apple and Microsoft are also very unfair. Yeah. Indeed. In terms of software, I'm sure that they will have more options that start to open up here. Actually, I think I remember one here. Where was that? Wait a minute. Oh. This might be an option. Okay, so no, that's not the case. Man, that's super frustrating. I remember seeing there was a yes, Krita. Krita can do that. I remembered there was some software out there that could work well with Linux. It's Krita. By the way, it has become a great software. It used to be trash. It is not quite as good as Photoshop or ClipPaint. It's getting there. We're probably... Well, we're getting very close to it being a really good usable tool professionally. I'm already using it. My website has only been using Krita for the artwork, and it actually has worked out quite fine. So no real complaints. GIMP is of course usable on Linux. Not a fan of GIMP. GIMP has a lot of problems with it, but they are slowly getting refined. But Krita is definitely the software to go with. And it's free, which is the benefit. Yeah. But I'm going to have to make sure that when I do the switch for my PC, I'm going to have to make sure to build out the collection of tools that can actually work with it. Because I have a lot of software that will not cooperate with me. But thankfully, I believe the vast majority of the ones that I currently have will operate on it, including DaVinci Resolve, which I use for my editing, also a free software. And also, Blender is also Linux friendly. In fact, it actually performs better on Linux, interestingly enough. It has like I believe they said it's between a 10 and 15% speed boost on Linux, so save some time on rendering. It's going to be quite the experience, though. I haven't gone to a new operating system in a long, long time. I focused primarily on Windows because it had a lot of the features that I needed, but everyone else that I knew was working on... I need to get my guides up here. Where's the guides? Did I get rid of the guides? Oh wait, no, I didn't have it for this one in particular. Okay, that's not a problem. So I worked with Windows back when everyone else was working on Mac, and I finally made the I made the decision because I could not afford a Mac. I could only afford a Windows. Well, after a while, it turns out that Mac became very unfriendly to users. And so a lot of people jumped ship, and I had already made the jump like 3-4 years prior. So I was good to go. Everyone else was struggling. I kind of feel like that's about ready to happen again. Linux feels like it is the one to go to, but it's not super user-friendly just yet. It is getting there. The number of people jumping on board is growing constantly. So I don't think he'll be as stressful as I kind of am anticipating, but it's still going to be a challenge. And honestly, I'm not really looking forward to this. I really wish Windows would have actually just corrected. But problem is now it's an ethical problem. Windows... So many things with Windows has become so dark, so dystopian, that I cannot overlook it anymore. I kind of held my nose with it, but ethically, I find it very hard to deal with it anymore. So that's why I'm going to start that process. But I had to get 2 computers for this because I need one to work with the Windows software and the other one to be my old one to be the experimental one that I learned the process of jumping ship. Then when I'm ready, I'll swap everything over. I've already started the process, but it's going to be a little while until it's really at the point where I can do that for absolutely everything. Right now I'm going to be doing a shape design using silhouettes. Well, using kind of like the a low poly version of the character, of the creature. That way I can get a chance to figure out its proper dimensions. I learned this the other day, and I'm not an expert at it, but it definitely makes drawing a lot easier. Do you think an RTX 4060 or 5060 will do well with Blender and Clip Paint Studio? All best budget laptops have them. Anything better has a huge price spike. 5060, as I understand, is the best option, but you're going to have a problem, and this is the trick. The best type of graphics card is not friendly to most other projects. The best one for Blender is, well, when I was getting started, was the Quadro cards. Those are the best for animation. They do not make Quadro the same way that they used to. They got a new series. I forget the name of it. But it is the actual one you're supposed to go with. The 5060 is designed for gaming. It's designed for consumers. It's not made for creators. The actual one that you would need, like if you're trying to do like high-end stuff, let's see here. What do they currently go by the name of? Golly, where is that? I know they've been trying to get rid of like a lot of their production graphics cards, and I don't know why. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, it's considered a legacy for the Quadro. Looks like they're going under the identification of workstation cards. Kind of easy to figure out. Pro GPUs is what it looks like the name is. Ugh. Now there's something else here. I don't know. I don't know what they're currently going by the name of. But a Quadro card, for example, was designed with a whole lot more CUDA cores, which allowed for more processing to take place. A lot of gaming laptops are designed, a lot of gaming graphics cards are designed for fast, quick calculations, and it can burn out the graphics card. A Quadro card was designed to last a very, very long time. I have Quadro cards, and they've been lasting a long time, and they're still going strong. If I had gaming GPUs, it'd be gone at this point. They would have died years ago with the amount of work I've done, because I actually experienced that before. I burned out a GPU because of the rendering. So early on, a 5060 is fine. But if you upgrade, in the future, you're going to want to get an official workstation graphics card. That will not be in a laptop. It will be in a desktop. So that hopefully will clear up a little bit there. You should be fine with 5060 for now. All Samsung tablets can pair with Windows secondary screen. Oh, yeah. There's also Samsung 3.1 USB. I mean, just drop the render time from 8 hours to 2 hours would be nice. Yeah, you will see a bit of an improvement, but you won't necessarily see that from the 5060. You will see an improvement, but I don't know if you'll get that fast. Well, I guess it depends on what your current GPU is. Just didn't want to get too quickly. Oh, yeah, indeed. With 8 lanes, oh, yeah. Need 8 lanes, not 4. A60 is a 710, 80. Yeah, indeed. A 1050 16 gigabyte. Let me see here. 1050 Ti. Oh yeah. The 5060 will do about 5 times faster, maybe 10 times faster. That's yeah, no. Get away from that one. Yeah, no, that is that reminds me when I was getting my first production job. I was at the TV station up here in Alaska, and they gave me a card that was weaker than that. And I had to make big animations on it. And it did not like the work that I did. It choked. It finally died. And they never really... They wouldn't upgrade. But I burned out that graphics card after 1 year. And it should have died earlier, but I made intentionally smaller projects for it. And then when I got the Quadro cards for my own personal work, I was like, oh, it's so great. I can render fast and long, and I don't have to worry about the graphics cards dying. That's the big thing. When they die, you suddenly realize that's a lot of money to spend. And when you have to keep getting more of them. Unfortunately, all the laptops I see, yeah, laptops are a problem. You're going to want to have a proper cooling platform for it, because laptops will cook themselves to death. Even a small tower is going to be a better option than a laptop in many cases. But a laptop is sometimes the only option you have. It also allows you to travel with it. I got started on a laptop. I got as best of a GPU as I could for the laptop, and it lasted me 3 years. But it suffered. And finally, I reached 3.5 years, and it died. A very sad time, because that was a very good laptop. And I have not been able to find a laptop nearly as good as that one. It was spendy too. I worked a long time to be able to pay for that. Hopefully it won't be a big issue in the future. Yep, but I will be mobile for a few years, so a laptop is the only way. Indeed. Make sure to get a good one, though, and to get the cooling station. Believe me, the cooling station will extend the life of your laptop a lot. It's just a platform with fans underneath it. But believe me, indispensable for your laptop. I'll make sure to get the cheap one. Oh no. Oh no. By the way, work's going to start getting pretty busy for me. Well, it has been busy actually for the last 2 weeks, but it's about to get even more busy. And so there's going to be quite a few days that you're probably just not going to see me online, just like this last week. I don't know when those weeks are going to be, how long they'll go for, but it's basically going to be like that from now until June. And so I don't stream enough, and that been that dedicated of a streamer that I really thought of it as being like necessary to kind of tell everybody. But that's why I tell them in, like, you know, hey, it's about ready to get really busy. Spring is always my busiest time. And then when I come to summer, then everything starts to get a little bit more slack for a time. And then it all comes back online later on in the year. And then it's back off to the races again. By the way, folks, if you're on one of our platforms that you can like the stream or dislike it, feel free to do either or. It'd be helpful just to know who is Flesh and Blood, and it's the easiest way for me to be able to tell these days, because we have had bots. We got a whole lot of bots over on Rumble, which we're not streaming to tonight, but Rumble has been notorious for bots galore, and thankfully haven't been hit with them recently, but it is always like in the back of my mind that we can get hit, because it got 19,000 bots that attacked once, and so it looked like the stream was really big. Turns out none of them were real. $801 beat with laptop. Some P959s. Make great things happen for you, for you, dude. Indeed. Indeed. By the way, Helmet, what sort of projects do you tend to work on? All of the code for Minecraft is in my portfolio description. I'm the to solve it. Right now I'm designing and developing the 144 quality on here. I do lots of art. Indeed. Hopefully it goes well. Okay, I believe it's finally rendering correctly. Good to hear there, Jersey. Favorite GIF site is down. Yep. Yeah, GIF sites tend to, go online and go offline pretty regularly. It's not quite the right design here. That's why we have it side by side, so we can see if there's any glaring errors. You won't get it perfect, but you can get it close enough. It is pixel art after all, so that's better. Maybe extend the leg a bit. Couple extra shadows. Have a great one. Indeed. Same to you, Helmet. By the way, folks, we're going to be bringing this to an end here in just a moment. I got work in the morning, of course, and so I need to be hitting the sack here soon. There we go. That's good enough. Indeed. All right. Art. Ooh. Hey, well done. Oh, we're having some glitches here. What is causing that glitch? Interesting. That's the same glitch that I had earlier. 4K does not like being full screen for whatever reason. That is good glare with the lights as well. Nicely done. The positioning as well. Got a lot of dimension there. Lot of dimension. And the faces are looking very well done. Hey, getting a lot of nodes out there. Very nice. Good compositing. No, it's my PC. This is the reason why I had to get another one. Because this one's on its last legs, and I have to... It's the graphics card. It's been causing me problems this whole last week. So, it's one of the... Again, the reason why I've not been streaming is because of this computer problem that I've been having. So I gotta get this one, this new one up and operational. It's only like halfway set up. And so that's why I'm doing this on the old machine while I try and figure out what the new format's going to look like. Because I still want to stream over on my old machine because I have everything already, organized. I don't really want to upgrade everything just yet. I'm going to do that later on this summer when I have more time. But in the meantime, that just means I'm going to have a couple of glitches that are going to routinely be a problem for me. Whoop-de-doo. Greetings there, Shadow. Good eye. How's it doing? Things doing well. Could you tell me if it was loud or quiet? It was a good volume. It wasn't anything too extreme. But you always want to check your levels when you are doing your editing. It should be around -5 to -10 decibels. So basically in the yellow range. When it gets higher than that, you risk clipping it. When it gets too low, it starts to really fade out fast. Audio editing in Blender, yeah, that can be a challenge. But good thing you're making use of that. Don't know if you see that there. That's a good point. They might not have that as an option. But DaVinci definitely does have that. Let's, Alright, that's ready for animating now. Or at least, enough. So we're going to copy that just like before. And start to merge those legs together. And then spread them apart on the far side. So I do have a lot of the game elements figured out. It's not quite there yet to have a working anything more than just one level. But right now I do have it to where I can get multiple levels. They're going to be simple, but I want to get the story elements figured out, and that part is something I have to do off stream as I figure it out, and then I'll add these characters in, and then it should have a working prototype. And then people can, cringe at how simple it is. Compositing was so confusing, I stopped the render so many times mid-render as I didn't know about the post-effect thing. Yeah. Yep. Compositing can be a challenge, but that being said, it gets really helpful later on. Like the way that they go about it actually makes a whole lot of sense. But it takes a little bit of experimenting to finally see all the benefits to it. Right around the very last frame, yeah. Indeed. But it's good you're learning about that now. It took me years before I was willing to actually even open up the compositor because I didn't understand it. A lot of people I knew actually started with the compositor, and that confused the daylights out of me. I had no idea how they did it, and I couldn't find a good guide early on because no one had really done that effectively. And so it was a big mystery until like 3 years ago. They finally started to click, which that may seem like a long time ago, but you have to remember I was trying to use it professionally for the last 5-6 years, 6-7 years at this point. And so I didn't use it for most of that time. And it definitely caused a lot of problems for me when I was working on various projects. Well, the differences between add and mix nodes in Blender can change ratios in both. A very good question. So typically you're going to want to use the mix node, but add has a lot of other features tied to it. Here's a good way to test it. Have two images that are going to be overlaid and use the normal mixed node. You will see that it basically will start to blend the two together. Add will give a slightly different effect that starts to become apparent when you start to use different colors. And then you just kind of got to see which one, I don't really have it set up for right now, but let me see if I can pull this up. Let me see if I can pull up a quick test here so I can show this. So I'm thinking about trying to describe it, and this one's kind of a visual thing you kind of need to see. I'm going to be using an older version of Blender because I opened up the wrong version. So, okay. Use nodes. Let's bring in a couple of different images. Let's bring in this background. All right, we have a pirate Legoland there in the background. This is an old image. I was using this as a reference for to try and describe something that I remembered from my childhood, and lo and behold, I have this image available. Now let's drag in this number 2. So we're going to have the normal mixed node. So if we add this image over top of it, you'll notice that there is a very faint image right there. If I turn it on full, this is what the image is that we're working with. And actually, let's do a transform here. Let us scale it down to there. So that way, it doesn't take up the whole frame. So we have the ability to fade it like this, just like you were mentioning about. Let's try an add. So we're going to plug in the same thing. And you'll notice, oh, second, I grabbed the wrong one there. There we go. You'll notice it does something similar. Or does it? You'll notice that the 2 right here is actually a little stronger when it's using add. And the reason why is actually kind of interesting. So this is with add, and this is with mix. If I turn mix all the way up, factor all the way up, we see only the 2. But when I do it with add, we actually see the 2 over top of the background. Because what is actually happening is it is adding the numbers together. Let's put it like this. I'm trying to think of a way to do this. I realize I am going to actually do something similar in Krita. This will make a lot more sense if I demonstrate it here in Krita. Then the node will start to make more sense. I've actually had to go over this multiple times with people in the past, so you're not the first one to have to ask this question. All right, let us go with a simple image, 1000 by 1000. Okay, here's Krita. We're going to bring in that image from earlier as a new layer. So let's try something different. Let's try using colors, like just basic colors. We're going to choose a red color for a starter. So vivid 255 red. This is red out there. Now let's do the same thing, but instead we're going to use green. 255 green, and the rest of them are going to be 0. New layer. Okay, so now we have 3 objects. We have the red, and we have the green, and we have the pirate background. So what happens if we turn green into add? Notice what happened. The image right there can still be seen, but it's like blown out because the numbers are being added on top of each other. And so like with this red, if we add green over top of it, it turns it yellow. But if we have this just as normal and just have a simple fade, notice what happens. It doesn't really change the color a whole lot. It kind of makes it muddied because the numbers are not being added on top of it. There are 255 points of color that can be added together. When you have 0, you have black. When you have 255, you have white. But when you have it just of one color or the other, you start to get them to add together separately. So if we were to select the color out here, how do I pull up this? Here we go. Notice this number right here, red, green, and blue. It may be a little hard to see because of the resolution of the screen, but right now we have 255 red, 0 green, 0 blue. For the green, it's the reverse. The green is the one that has the 255. Now let's come in here and let us add in one more layer, and we're going to add this one as well. But instead, we're going to have blue. And so when we have blue right here, and we fade it back, again, we're getting that muddied effect. But if we turn it on to add, it turns it white. This is what you would say is painting with color, because color adds together. If you're using paints, like an actual pigment, things get darker the more that you add color, or it gets more muddied. But if you have light, it just adds together and gets brighter. That is similar to what is happening with Blender. Now there is a couple of other options you can do as well, but add, that's the reason why you would have a typical add. Now there are many other options that you can do here. You can be able to go from add, you can go to multiply, and notice what that did. It makes it so that the black gets subtracted from everything, and so everything gets way darker. If you're trying to add fire, screen is actually a really good one to use. Screen usually works very well with fire, and add does as well. Overlay is like a mixture of both. I don't use overlay a whole lot. That's kind of like for overall coloring sort of tactics. But I would try experimenting with each of these blending options. They're all useful in one way, shape, or form. Hopefully that made sense. I wish it's just one node. Yeah. Believe me, when you've gotten a chance to use the nodes a little bit for the blending, it starts to make way more sense. Start out in a painting program. Experiment with the layering. That will explain to you how that stuff works. Let me do one more experiment here. One more thing to show why this stuff matters. Because this is actually really interesting stuff. And this is how I got started doing art, actually. All right, let's bring in a new image. We want a high resolution image. Or higher resolution image. Oh, hey, here we go. An old... Wait a minute, come over here. Open in new document. Got young Alaska Man Jeff there. We're going to demonstrate how to use blending modes in order to change this image. So right now, what we're going to start off by doing, we're just going to use a simple brush here. It's going to be the airbrush here. Get the right size. Let's say that we want to change the lighting of this scene. Well, if we want to change the lighting, there's a couple of different options based upon like the time of day we're trying to go for. But let's just say it's going to be high noon, sort of a jungle sort of atmosphere. I'm going to come along here and I'm just going to start painting. I'm going to do this extreme, so this makes a little bit more sense. We're going to try and shadow like this. And fade it on out over here. Oh, come on. All right, now that looks a little weird, doesn't it? But let's try and change the blending modes. Let's try and turning it to a multiply. Notice what that did. That takes the color and darkens everything with that color of green. Now let's try something somewhere in the middle, between yellow and green. And we're going to do a little bit of feathering right along here. So we have a little bit of a softness to that. And now we're going to tone it back. We now have done a little bit of changing the mood of this image right here. There's a couple areas that you kind of want to bring back to help define features or whatnot, but typically this is how you're going to go about changing the mood of an image or a video, is by doing this sort of thing. And then if you want to do something a bit more extreme, which by the way, we're going to darken this right here. Darken that a little bit more, like that. And then we're going to make a new layer. And this one we're going to choose kind of a brighter yellowish orange color here. And we're going to come over here and we're going to draw in highlights. And then we're going to turn this on to add. And notice what that did right there. It took the yellowish orange and it just added it to the scene. Now this is an extreme version, but let me show you what that looks like when you've gotten some time to refine it, to clean it up, and using this technique to stylize your images. Let me see if I can pull up a good one from the past here. Aha, here we go. All right, which one are we going to go with here? Test. Here we go. So these were early images that I did back in the day when I was trying to learn the process. So there was a picture of a tiger, and I wanted to try and make it look like it had some mood lighting to it. So it was designed to try and make it look like there was a story behind the image. This was just a normal picture of a tiger cub. But I went in and I started using shadows and turning on multiply and overlay. And by doing so, I was able to try and make it look like it was in a different setting. And this was one of the very first images I did using this sort of technique. Now, sometimes it can work out well, and sometimes it doesn't. Here's another one that actually turned out pretty well. Again, this was part of the learning process. This was just a flat image of a tiger, and by using this sort of technique, I was able to start to draw out some more interest to the image. Was it great? No, but this was the first test images I was doing. I was learning the process of dealing with different layer settings. Now, in terms of things like add, here's an image that I did using add. Add is really good for lighting effects, including things like explosions or lasers. The American gunship. But that all happens with this same technique. And when you're working with Blender, that is what's going on behind the scenes. You are using the math that is happening to change the different elements. Now this one would take a lot more work to try and refine, because this is not a very good scene to work with. But it gives you an idea of how this happens. I gotta find there was a really, really funny one that I did back in the day. Oh, here's a good one. So this is using some blending modes. Right here, I used a saturation blending mode to try and remove the color and make it look like an old-fashioned photo. But I wanted elements like the gold to stand out, and so I made that as a brighter image, so that way it stood out. The gunshot to the glass is done with an additive layer. So that way there's a little bit of texture that shows through. Hopefully it gives you some ideas to start working with. Now Blender doesn't necessarily need those things. I will say that. But it does come in handy if you have some more complex ideas you're trying to create. And doing things like blending with this is similar to as if you're working with Photoshop layers, but it's designed for video. That's the benefit. This is like After Effects for Blender. Well, we're going to bring this to a close for tonight. We got the first frame of this first 2 frames of this bug figured out. Next time we'll add more to it. Hopefully it's not a week and a half before the next stream. I will probably try and do something tomorrow, but that's why we're going to end earlier, so I can go into work earlier and hopefully get off earlier so I can come back and start streaming earlier. We will see. Have a good evening and morning, everybody, no matter where you are. No matter what happens, be civil to one another. We will see you next time. We're not going to be raiding for tonight, but we will be sure to raid next time. Hopefully we'll get to try and do some earlier streams. I've actually had a couple of people mention that would probably be a beneficial thing. I hesitate to do that, but it may happen. We'll see. Till then, folks, have a very pleasant evening.